Hello friends, Tanya here for Trinity Stamps, and I have a cute sneak peek featuring some cool treats. We're going to start out with some Distress Oxide ink blending with some Villainous potion on some light purple cardstock. And I have a little surprise visitor you're going to see pop up here in just a second. Bloomin' Minnesota state bird. And we're going to create an ombre of purple up this cardstock. I am going to take it a step further by pulling out my Distress Mica Stain spray. Yeah, there's a lot of words there. In Hocus Pocus. And I spritz that on our cardstock and I let that dry. Actually, I think I heat set it. And then I'm pulling out a light blue cardstock, and the Mermaid Lagoon Distress Oxide will create an ombre with that also. And then I'm going to pull out, I think it's called Snow Flurries Distress Mica Distress Spray Stain. And I spritz that on. I make sure I wipe the nozzle and I store it on its side so the mica doesn't clog any of the spraying. Then I have the Nouveau Shimmer powders that I use to create this watercolor background on watercolor paper. They are so rich and vibrant and sparkly. It is all about the sparkle today. And then I use the new Popsicle Die Set. It is such a cool die set. It creates this layering die. We've got two large dies that cut out the popsicle part and two different versions of the handles, one with a wood grain texture and one without. Here I'm layering the different parts of the popsicle together. We've got the large popsicle with the two dimensional parts here, and I'm attaching the popsicle stick there and putting them under a heavyweight block to help those dry quickly. The parts that drop out of the smaller detail die for this create the twin pops. At least I think that's what they're called. It's the ones that you can break in half and share with a friend. And I decided to create a cute little twin pop. Now I've gotten 3 popsicles out of 1 die cut. How awesome is that? In this die set, we also have some sentiments. We have the You're the Coolest is what this says. We've got the Fallout here, and I have die cut that from black, and I will back it with some shimmery white cardstock. I do just line this as up with the edge as well as I can, and then I'm going to cut off the extra, doing a little bit of undercutting with this. Just angling my scissors to get under the edge of the top cardstock. Then we have the Scripty Coolest sentiment, and I am going to adhere that to another black one. I cut it out twice, and I wanted a little extra dimension. So I'm just adhering those together, loving my fine tip glue for that. And then I'm going to adhere that to the shadow die, which I also cut from shimmery white cardstock. Now I'm going to layer those together quickly. And we have this really fun sentiment, You're the Coolest. And that will work for all kinds of occasions, whether you're saying happy birthday or thank you or all kinds of things. Now, in order to make our background, because you know me, I have to do something fun and create my background, I pulled out this stencil, and I am inking it up with the same inks that I used to ink blend on the cardstock. That is the Villainous Potion and the Mermaid Lagoon. This is a 2-layer stencil set, and it has the laser edging or etching that you can use to line up your previous inking. And I'm using some masking tape here at the top and bottom to make sure I don't get ink on my panel. I cut that to 5x7 because I'm making a 5x7 card. And this is already side 2 because, of course, I just tried using that little yellow tape to stick my stencil down and got ink where I did not want it. I love this. I believe this is called Shooting Star. and it looks fantastic. We're going to take those distressed mica spray stains again, and then instead of spraying them, I'm splattering the background with the spray stick. Yeah, I'm just unscrewing it and making it spatter all over the cardstock. I'm going to let that dry, and I love how that shimmer adds to it. And I'm going to pull out the modern embossed A7 stack die set and take one of the dies. This creates a 4 3/4 by 6 3/4 inch mat or background. I did add one layer of cardstock behind this just to add a little extra dimension. And I made sure that the most heavily spattered end is the one that's up, because that's what's going to catch your eye the most. And now I'm adhering that to the card front. I'm adhering the 2 popsicles to the card front. I want to make sure that the shooting stars are actually showing around our popsicles. So I'm carefully placing those on the card front, and I did put in a little extra cardstock behind our watercolor panel popsicle to make that pop up above our blue popsicle. I've also added some dimension behind our sentiments, and I'll pop those in place. I did use some of the black cardstock because sometimes you have scraps of that are so tiny you'd throw them away anyway. And then we're going to add some of these beautiful gems. These are called Crystal Twilight. They're a beautiful purple and blue iridescent gem. I just added some dots of glue and we'll drop on our little gems. I'm trying to use a variety of sizes. There are 4 sizes of gems, which I love. I love that there's so many different sizes of gems because I think that makes it so much more versatile. Aren't those gorgeous? And then we're going to do something on the inside. We're going to take our purple big popsicle and our 2 twin pops in blue, and we're going to adhere these together. We're going to do a little pop-up on the inside of this card. I've been wanting to do that for a while. There is a really simple technique that I believe I saw on Jennifer McGuire's channel. I took a piece of cardstock and I scored it at a 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and then I made it only 2.5 inches long. And this creates this little box. And I glued that together, and this happens to be 1 1/4 inches wide. I wanted something a little bit wider. And we're going to glue our main image here that we want to pop up onto this box. I've collapsed it down and I'm gluing it to the far right segment. And then when I flip it over, I'm adding glue to the portions that will touch the back of the card and the side of the card. Then I'm going to close that and let that dry nicely. Next, I'm taking some dies from the new Simply Sentimental Simply Sentimental birthday set. I am loving this series. If you have gotten any of them, you know how versatile these are. They are amazing. And I took the very scripty, the thin scripty birthday and its shadow die. I cut those out of black cardstock and shimmery white cardstock. And of course, I lost the tittle for the eye. I always do. So I cut a new one and I left the little tittle on my cutting plate until it was time to adhere it to my shadow. That way I was guaranteed to not lose it. Now I'm carefully placing this on our inside popsicles to make sure that it doesn't interfere with the opening and closing and it doesn't hang out when you close the card. I add some glue to the back and we'll adhere that to our inside popsicles. And then I found a couple of sentiments. These are one is from the Simply Sentimental birthday, and I used the die, the little sentiment banner die from the Simply Sentimental U set. So die cut that. And then I got a sentiment from one of the upcoming gnome stamp sets, and it's an adorable little gnome. There is so much in this release, you guys. Oh my gosh. And then I decided to live dangerously. I pulled one of those layering stencils into the front of the card, or excuse me, the inside of the card, and I carefully placed it underneath our pop-up, and I'm adding some ink on the inside of our card. I felt that it really needed a little extra, not just the pop-up, but something ink blended on the background to make this all pull together. So that is card number 1 with the Popsicle Die Set. Now for card number 2, we are using the ice cream cone die set and the Shimmering Sea foiling plate. I used that foiling plate, which is supposed to look like the ocean, to create what looks like a ripple on my ice cream. I did this in several colors and with several different color foils, and I love the effect that gives. And to increase the texture and yumminess of my ice cream scoops, I am adding some ink blending on the sides with some distress ink, and I'm pulling out some more of the mica spray stains. This one's in Winterberry, which is that pretty pink. And now I'm going to make a ink blended background with 3 primary colors. Again, going to make a rainbow. This rainbow is on the darker end of the pastel spectrum, if you can call it that. I'm using worn lipstick, scattered straw, and tumbled glass. And I haven't used these colors much lately. And the scattered straw and the tumbled glass really need a re-inking. You can see that because I'm having to do a lot of work to get my ink down and then to get it blended. But I really like the way this turned out. And I did re-ink my ink pads right after I finished this panel because I didn't want to stop in the middle of doing this to do the re-inking. I'm moving back and forth, making these 2 colors blend. They should make a nice orange, and they do. It's a nice pale orange. And then we have a nice pale green. Look at that. Next, I pull out my pearlized water, which again is water with perfect pearls in the perfect pearl color, mixed together. I sprayed it on a piece of stamp packaging, and I'm using it to add that wrinkly, distressed, pearlized background look. Next, I'm pulling out the quilted cover plate and the modern embossed Slimline, and then you didn't see it, but also using the scalloped Slimline panels. I die cut the scallop panel from some shimmery white cardstock, and I took my rainbow panel and I die cut that with the quilted cover plate die first, which is bigger than what I needed. And then I took one of the modern embossed Slimline dies and cut that to fit inside my scallop panel. And I'm going to adhere all of that to a Slimline card base. Now I initially did this panel and glued that down to the card base, and I assembled my ice cream cone here, and I've done some ink blending on the cone also. I think I used brushed corduroy and some craft cardstock. And now I'm going to layer my little scoops, my big scoops, up on top of each other. I've got 3 kind of peachy pink colors here that I have hot foiled with that Shimmering Sea foiling plate. And I realized that I really want the blue part of the rainbow at the top. So I made a new panel, and I will use that other card base for another card. I'm going to adhere these to the card front, and I did put a layer of cardstock behind the ice cream cone. And now I'm going to add the cherry. There is a cherry in this die set. The stem is a very fine stem, and there is some embossing to show you where the top, the cherry's belly button, so to speak, is. And I'm carefully adhering my stem to the cherry, and we'll add that to the top of our ice cream cone stack. I think this looks delicious. I want some right now. We have an amazing ice cream shop in town. It's not a chain, and it has the most delicious ice cream ever. Can't wait to go again soon. Now I've taken sentiments from 2 different sets here. One is from the Popsicle set. That's the coolest die, which we actually used on the previous card. The Birthday and the Wishes, both of those are from the Simply Sentimental Birthday stamps and dies. And I am adhering those to the inside of the card. I did die cut the colorful pieces from a scrap from that rainbow ink blended background, and I love that it all coordinates with the front. We have a couple of sentiments here, both from the Simply Sentimental Birthday set. That's where the hooray is from. And the It's Sherbert Day. I think that's a darling sentiment. That is from that gnome stamp set that you are going to want. It is so cute. And we are adding some more beautiful crystals. These are the Crystal Sunset. They are like the Crystal Twilight in that they're iridescent and they're 2 tones. This is kind of a orange and red. And that is my 2 sneak peek cards. I hope you enjoyed them. I tried to include some fun techniques along with new products, things that you can do even if you don't have the stamps and dies, and to help you get a little excited for the new release. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do that now. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in the products that I used today, check out the description box below. Until next time, bye-bye.